Hello everyone, this is Glenda and welcome back to Creative Grandma. Today's crochet tutorial will be for the pumpkin toilet paper cover. This is pattern number 615. I'll have the link to the pattern in the description box underneath the video. Now everyone who has been following my channel knows that I have been doing a series of toilet paper covers. So because of Halloween and the Thanksgiving season coming up, I decided to make a cute little pumpkin for in your bathroom to hide that spare roll of toilet paper. So let me just show you a little bit about the pumpkin that we're making today. Now this is going to be made using two different covers. We make the inside cover, which is this piece here, and then we're going to place the inside cover on top of the toilet paper roll, and then we're going to be making this outside piece and form it into the pumpkin shape, and then we're going to attach it to the other cover in here and then you just put a little bit of stuffing around that pumpkin between the two pieces, and then it fits right over your toilet paper. You just put it on there, and a great way to decorate for the holiday season. You add your little stem and put the leaves on. Now I didn't stuff this as full as I should have because I didn't want it real big. I wanted it to be able to sit nicely on the top of the tank of the toilet, or wherever you want to place it in the bathroom, or wherever you want to place it in your house. So let me show you the material list and go over a little more information about this pattern. So let's go over the material list. For this project, I used the A.C. Moore in-house brand of the Studio Classic by Nicole, and you need one skein of number 13 bright orange, which is this color, and this is a 7-ounce skein of a 4 medium weight worsted 100% acrylic yarn. And then I chose the same yarn, Studio Classic by Nicole, and I used the number 29 gentle brown, just a really nice color for the stem. Now you don't have to buy a full skein. If you have some extra little balls of a brown 4 medium weight yarn, then you only need enough to create the stem. And then I chose this beautiful early spring. It's color number 40. Again, these are all the in-house brand at A.C. Moore, the Studio Classics, and I chose this color for the leaves. You're also going to need a small amount of polyester fiber fill, probably about an ounce, just enough to stuff in between the two covers to form the pumpkin, and then a little tiny bit to stuff that stem. You're going to need one double roll of toilet paper. Now for this project I used a double roll of toilet paper and not the larger mega roll. I usually use the mega roll, but because we had to stuff the pumpkin, I made sure I used the smaller roll of toilet paper in order to keep that pumpkin a nice size to fit on the top of that toilet tank. You're also going to need a yarn needle. You're going to need a crochet hook size H8 or a 5 millimeter or whatever size to obtain gauge. Now the gauge is working in a double crochet stitch. You should get 14 double crochet and 7 rows for 4 inches. So for our pumpkin today, it's going to measure 8 inches from side to side. The diameter of the pumpkin is 8 inches, and then from the bottom of the pumpkin to the top of the stem should be about 10 inches. So just the perfect size to decorate the bathroom. Now when I made this pumpkin, I was also trying to decide whether I should put a face on it. So I thought I'm going to let that up to you. If you wanted to get some safety eyes and maybe put a nose or a mouth or use felt or embroidery, but you can get creative and put a face on your pumpkin if you wish. So all kinds of design possibilities of what you can do with this after you make it. So grab your yarn. You're going to need your bright orange, and you're going to need that size H8 hook or 5 millimeter. I'll be right back, and we're going to get our toilet paper cover started. To begin, I already tied my yarn around my hook. Now you can use a slip knot or whichever method you prefer to attach your yarn. We're going to start with the chain 4, yarn over, pull through the loop on your hook. This creates your first chain. The loop on your hook does not count as a chain. Yarn over, pull through, that's 2. Yarn over, pull through, that's 3. Yarn over, pull through, and that's 4. Now we're going to start round 1, and round 1 we're going to work 11 double crochet into this 4th chain from hook. So you're going to yarn over, you're going to skip the first 3 chain, insert into that 4th chain from hook, yarn over, pull through, you have 3 loops on your hook, yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, and pull through 2. You just made your first double crochet. You're going to yarn over, insert back into that same chain, work a 2nd double crochet, yarn over, insert back into that same chain. Now this chain will open up and get bigger as you're working each one of these double crochet. That's 3. Continue and work 8 more double crochet in that same chain, and I'll meet you at the end of round 1. I'm over at the end of round 1. You have your beginning chain 3, and then you should have worked 11 double crochet into that same chain, forming 11 double crochet. So with the chain 3, it's a total of 12 double crochet stitches. Now we're going to join. We're going to count up to the top of that beginning chain 3. Your first chain is all the way down here. Count up 1, 2, 3. Insert into that chain and slip stitch. Yarn over, pull through that chain, and pull through the loop on your hook. Round 1 is finished, and you should have a total of 12 double crochet, and that includes that beginning chain 3. So now we're going to start round 2. Round 2, we're going to start with the chain 1. We're going to single crochet into this first stitch, insert right back into that joining stitch, work a single crochet. Now we're going to work 2 single crochet into this next stitch, insert into that next stitch, and work 2 single crochet. There's 1. Insert back into that same stitch and work your 2nd single crochet. Now we're getting ready to start our repeat. So if you need help, click back on the video to where I say this is the start of the repeat, and work until I say this is the end of the repeat, and we're going to repeat that around. We're going to insert into the next stitch and work 1 single crochet. Insert into the next stitch and work 2 single crochet. There's 1. Insert into that same stitch and work your 2nd single crochet. And that is the end of the repeat. So let's do it again. Insert into the next stitch, work 1 single crochet. Insert into the next stitch and work 2 single crochet. 1. Insert back into that same stitch and work your 2nd single crochet. And that is the end of the repeat. So go ahead and repeat around 1 single crochet into the next stitch, 2 single crochet into the next. Repeat that around, and I will meet you at the end of round 2. I'm over at the end of round 2, and if you count your stitches from the first single crochet around to the last, you should have a total of 18 single crochet around your work. You should have ended with 2 single crochet into that last stitch. And what I like to tell my new crocheters, if you're not used to working in the round, when you join your rounds with a slip stitch, it creates what I call a joining bar. This is a horizontal bar that goes across your work, and when you look, it looks like a stitch. And this is where most of my new crocheters make their mistake. You do not want to crochet into this joining bar. The best way I can tell a new crocheter is to look at your stitches. Here's your last stitch you made, and it's in the last stitch around. When you look at that next stitch here, That was the first stitch of that previous round, and you can see that the stitch was already in the first. The stitch is in the last, so you know that this is your joining bar. So never work into that joining bar. Now we're getting ready to join. You're going to skip that joining bar, you're going to skip that chain 1, and you're going to insert under the top 2 loops of that first single crochet, and we're going to slip stitch. Yarn over, pull through that stitch, and pull through the loop on your hook. Round 2 is finished, and again you should have 18 single crochet around. So now we're going to work round 3, and round 3 will be the same as round 2. We're going to be increasing as we go around. So let's begin. We're going to start and chain 1. We're going to work 1 single crochet into this same joining stitch, insert into that first stitch, and work 1 single crochet. Insert into the next stitch, and you're going to work 2 single crochet. 1, insert back into that same stitch, and work your second single crochet. Now we're going to start the repeat, so if you need help, click back on the video to where I say this is the start of the repeat for round 3. Work until I say this is the end of the repeat, and continue the repeat around to the end of the round. So let's begin. We're going to insert into the next stitch and work 1 single crochet. Insert into the next stitch and work 2 single crochet. There's 1. Insert into that same stitch and work your second single crochet. And that is the end of the repeat. I'll show you one more time. This is the start of the repeat. You're going to insert into the next stitch and work 1 single crochet. Insert into the next stitch and work 2 single crochet. There's 1. Insert back into that same stitch and work your second single crochet. And that is the end of the repeat. So go ahead and work 1 single crochet into the next stitch, 2 single crochet into the next. Repeat that around your work, and I'll meet you at the end of round 3. I'm over at the end of round 3. You should have ended with 2 single crochet into that last stitch. And again, if you're new to crocheting, make sure you do not work into that joining bar. It's the horizontal bar that runs across your work from the last stitch to that first stitch. When you look at it, it looks like a stitch, but it's not. That's your joining bar. So if you're not sure, there's your last stitch worked into the last stitch. And when you look, you can see your joining bars running up, and then there's the first stitch that you made of the round is worked. So let's join our round. We're going to skip that joining bar, skip that beginning chain 1, insert under the top 2 loops of that first single crochet, and slip stitch. Yarn over the hook, pull it through that stitch, and pull it through the loop on your hook. Round 3 is finished, and you should have a total of 27 single crochet around your work. So now we're ready to begin round 4. We're going to start with the chain 1. We're going to work 1 single crochet into this joining stitch, that very first stitch, insert into that stitch, and work 1 single crochet. Now we're going to start our repeat, and it's basically the same as the last round. We're going to start the repeat, and we're going to work 2 single crochet into the next stitch and 1 single crochet into the next, and we're going to repeat that around. So if you need help, click back on the video to where I say this is the start of the repeat for round 4. Work until I say this is the end of the repeat, and then repeat it around your work. So let's begin. This is the start of the repeat. Insert into the next stitch and work 2 single crochet. 1, insert into that same stitch and work your second single crochet. Insert into the next stitch and work 1 single crochet. and that is the end of the repeat. So let's do the repeat again. You're going to insert into the next stitch and work 2 single crochet. 1, insert into the same stitch and work a second single crochet. Insert into the next stitch and work 1 single crochet. And that is the end of the repeat. So let's do it one more time and then you can continue on your own. Insert into the next stitch and work 2 single crochet. 1, insert into the same stitch and work your second single crochet. Insert into the next stitch and work 1 single crochet. And that is the end of the repeat. So go ahead and work 2 single crochet into the next stitch, 1 single crochet into the next, continue around your work, and I'll meet you at the end of round 4. I'm over at the end of round 4, and if you count your stitches from the first stitch all the way around to the last stitch, you should have a total of 40 single crochet stitches. So now we're going to go ahead and join. You're going to skip that joining bar. You're going to skip that beginning chain 1. You're going to insert under the top 2 strands of that first single crochet, yarn over, pull through, and pull through the loop on your hook. You just slip stitched your round together. So now we're going to start round 5, which is a simple round. We're going to start with the chain 1, and we're going to work 1 single crochet in each stitch around. Insert into that same beginning stitch where you joined, work 1 single crochet. Insert into the next stitch, work 1 single crochet. Insert into the next stitch, work 1 single crochet. Continue working 1 single crochet in each stitch around, and I'll meet you at the end of round 5. I'm over at the end of round 5. You should have worked 1 single crochet in each stitch around, and you should have a total of 40 single crochet. So now we're going to join with the slip stitch, skip that joining bar, skip that chain 1 space, insert under the top 2 strands of that first single crochet, yarn over, pull through that stitch, and pull through the loop on your hook. You just slip stitched your round together, and round 5 is finished. Now we're ready to start round 6. So to begin round 6, we're going to start with the chain 1. We're going to work 1 single crochet in each of the first 3 stitches. Insert into the first stitch where you joined, work 1 single crochet. Insert into the next stitch, work 1 single crochet. Insert into the next stitch and work 1 single crochet. We worked 1 single crochet in each of the first 3 stitches. Now we're going to work 2 single crochet into the next stitch, insert into the next stitch, and work 2 single crochet. There's 1, insert into that same stitch, work your second single crochet. Now we're getting ready to start our repeat. So if you need help, click back on the video to where I say this is the start of the repeat for round 6. Work until I say this is the end of the repeat and continue the repeat around to the end of the round. So let's begin. We're going to work 1 single crochet in each of the next 2 stitches. Insert into the next stitch and work 1 single crochet. Insert into the next stitch, work 1 single crochet. Insert into the next stitch and work 2 single crochet. There's 1. Insert into that same stitch and work your second single crochet. And that is the end of the repeat. So let's do it again. This is the start of the repeat. You're going to insert into the next stitch and work 1 single crochet. Insert into the next stitch and work 1 single crochet. insert into the next stitch and work 2 single crochet. 1, insert into that same chain and work your second single crochet. And that is the end of the repeat. So let's do it one more time and then you can continue around. Now make sure when you work those 2 single crochet, when you start that repeat again, that you make sure you're going into that very next stitch, because sometimes it might get covered up. Here's that next stitch, but when you work those 2 stitches, see how it goes down over it? So you may go into this one by accident. So always make sure you're double checking where that next stitch is. So let's do the repeat one more time. Insert into that next stitch and work 1 single crochet. Insert into the next stitch and work 1 single crochet. Insert into the next stitch and work 2 single crochet. 1, insert into that same stitch and work your second single crochet. And that is the end of the repeat. So go ahead and work 1 single crochet in each of the next 2 stitches and 2 single crochet into the next. Repeat that around, and I'll meet you at the end of round 6. I'm over at the end of round 6. This is what your work should look like. You should have a total of 53 single crochet around your work, and you may have a slight wave to your work, and that will be corrected when we do the next few rounds. So that's what it looks like, and now we're going to join with a slip stitch. You're going to skip that joining bar, skip that beginning chain 1, insert under the top 2 strands of that first single crochet and slip stitch. Yarn over, pull through that stitch, and pull through the loop on your hook. Round 6 is finished, and now we're going to start round 7. Round 7 is a very simple round. We're going to start and chain 1. We're going to work 1 single crochet in each stitch around. Insert into that first joining stitch, work a single crochet. Insert into that next stitch, work a single crochet. Insert into the next stitch, work a single crochet. Continue working 1 single crochet in each stitch around, and I will meet you at the end of round 7. I'm over at the end of round 7. You should have a total of 53 single crochet around your work. And starting with this round, we are not going to join. We're going to go ahead and start round 8, but we're not going to join our rounds. So for round 8, we're going to be working in our back loops only of the stitches around, and this helps form where you take the top of your toilet paper cover, and when you work in the back loops, it helps make that transition down the side. So let's begin. We're going to single crochet 1 single crochet into the back loop of each stitch around. So to begin round 8, we're going to skip that joining bar, we're going to skip that chain 1, and we're going to go into the back loop only. So take your hook right down through the center of the top of that stitch and out through the back of the loop. Go right underneath the back loop and work a single crochet. Insert into the back loop of the next stitch and work a single crochet. Now I worked 2 stitches to help hold this first stitch in place, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to place a stitch marker. Now I'm just going to use a piece of yarn and carry it up with each round, and I'm going to pull that piece of yarn through. So you want to count back 1, 2 and put a stitch marker into the first stitch of the round, and you're going to do that for the rest of this project here of this inside cover. You're going to mark the beginning of each round. Insert into the back loop of the next stitch and work a single crochet. Insert into the back loop of the next stitch, work a single crochet. Insert into the back loop only, and again you're going right down in between the center of that stitch, and you're going to go underneath the back loop and work a single crochet. So continue working one single crochet into the back loop of each stitch around, and I'll meet you at the end of round 8. I'm over at the end of round 8. You should have worked one single crochet into the back loop of each stitch around, and you should have a total of 53 single crochet. And when you look at your work, you can see this little edge that's going around your work, and that was created when you went into the back loop. So now we're going to switch over and we're going to start working using the half double crochet stitch. So for the remaining rounds, we're going to work in both loops of the stitch. So to begin round 9, you're going to yarn over, you're going to insert under the top 2 loops of that first stitch where you have your stitch marker, yarn over, pull through that stitch, you have 3 loops on your hook, yarn over and pull through all 3 loops on your hook. You just made a half double crochet. Yarn over the hook, insert under the top 2 strands of the next stitch, yarn over, pull through, yarn over and pull through 3. You just made a half double crochet. I'm going to pull my hook out, I'm going to count back 1, 2, and I'm just going to move my stitch marker up and mark that first stitch of the round. Let me show you again how to make a half double crochet. You're going to yarn over, insert under the top 2 loops of the next stitch, yarn over, pull through that stitch, you have 3 loops on your hook, yarn over and pull through all 3 loops on your hook. Yarn over, insert underneath the top 2 strands of the next stitch, work a half double crochet. Yarn over, insert underneath the top 2 strands of that next stitch, and work a half double crochet. Yarn over, insert under the top 2 strands of the next stitch, work a half double crochet. Continue and work 1 half double crochet in each stitch around, and I'll meet you at the end of round 9. I'm over at the end of round 9, and you should have a total of 53 half double crochet around your work. And if you look at your work, and when you look at your work, you'll notice that it's starting to go down the side that's going to go down the side of the toilet paper. So this is the top, and it's creating the sides. You can start seeing that to form. So now we're ready to start round 10. So round 10 will be the repeat round that you're going to use to finish off your toilet paper holder. So if you need help, this is where you would click back on the video and start at round 10 and work the same round until you get to round 18. So let's begin. This is the start of round 10. You're not going to join your rounds. When you come around at the end of the round, you're just going to start where your stitch marker is for the next round. You're going to yarn over, insert into that first stitch and go under the top 2 loops of that first half double crochet stitch, yarn over, pull through that stitch. You have 3 loops on your hook, yarn over and pull through all 3 loops. You just made a half double crochet. Yarn over, insert under the top 2 loops of the next stitch, work a half double crochet. I'm going to pull my hook up. I'm going to come back 2 stitches, 1, 2 to that first stitch of the round. I'm going to move my stitch marker up to that first stitch. I'm just pulling my yarn through, or you can put a stitch marker in that first stitch. It's very important that you mark your first stitch every time you start that round. Yarn over, insert into the next stitch and work a half double crochet. Yarn over, insert into the next stitch and work a half double crochet. Continue working 1 half double crochet in each stitch around until you get to the last stitch, and I'll meet you there. I'm over at the end of round 10. This is what your work should look like so far. If you count your stitches, you should have a total of 53 half double crochet around your work. Now when you get to the end of your round, you should finish your last stitch right before the stitch with the stitch marker. To start your next round, you do not join. To start round 11, you're going to work your stitch right into that first stitch where the stitch marker is. So for rounds 11 through 18, you're going to click back on the video and you're going to repeat round 10. So go ahead and repeat round 10, working 1 half double crochet in each stitch around, and I'll meet you at the end of round 18. I'm over at the end of round 18. This is what your piece should look like. So I'm going to measure because we have one more round to go before we finish the inside cover. So if you measure from the bottom to the top, it measures 4 inches high. So if you're at 4 inches, if you're not, then you need to correct your hook size so that your stitch gauge matches. And that's what's so important about the stitch gauge. Now again, this is to fit a double roll of toilet paper. So you can grab your roll of toilet paper and you can just see how close you are for that to cover up your end. It should be about 4 inches exactly when you come to the end of round 18. So now we're going to go ahead and finish with one more round, and this round will be working single crochet. So this is the start of round 19, and again, we do not join this round. We're just going to go right into that first stitch where you have your stitch marker. Insert into that first stitch and you're going to work a single crochet. Yarn over, pull through that stitch. You have 2 loops on your hook. Yarn over and pull through 2 loops. Insert into the next stitch and work a single crochet. I'm going to pull my hook out, grab that stitch marker. I come back 2 stitches to that first stitch and pull my stitch marker through to mark that first stitch. Very important that you're marking the first stitch of each round. Insert into the next stitch and you're going under the top 2 loops of the stitches and you're going to work a single crochet. Insert into the next stitch, work a single crochet. Continue and work 1 single crochet in each stitch around, and I'll meet you at the end of round 19. I'm over at the end of round 19, and now we're going to join and fasten off our work. You're going to insert your hook into that first stitch where you have your stitch marker, and we're going to slip stitch. Yarn over the hook, pull through that stitch, and pull through the loop on your hook. I'm going to fasten off, and I like to leave a little bit longer length so I can get my yarn needle and maneuver it through those stitches. I chain 2, 1, 2, pull up on my hook, pull my yarn out, grab that yarn, pinch, pull down, and it creates a secure knot. So now I'm just going to take my stitch marker out. This is why I like to use yarn. I can just pull it right out of there. You're going to take your yarn needle. You're going to thread that piece of yarn you cut off into your yarn needle, and that's why I like to leave it a little bit longer so you have a lot of room to maneuver that needle. You're going to turn it to the back side or the inside of your toilet paper cover, and I'm just going to take my yarn needle. I'm going to go underneath the stitches, and I like to get away from the edge. I like taking my stitches down a couple rows, and then I'm going to weave underneath the base of those stitches. Just take your yarn needle right under the base of those stitches, and then you're going to bring it back. Now I like to skip at least 1 strand of yarn. I don't like to jump too far because you'll have too long of a thread. Just so you skip 1 strand, insert it back in underneath the base of those stitches, and you're just going to weave your yarn needle back across, pull it through, and if you really want it secure, you can go through it a 3rd time just to make sure it's nice and snug and secure, and then just snip off that end. and then you cannot see your ends. So that is finished. This is the inside cover. So now you're going to take your toilet paper roll. Again, this is a double roll. I usually use the mega rolls, but because we're stuffing the pumpkin, I didn't want to get it too large. So take your cover, put it down over your toilet paper, and that is what it looks like. Now, if you're too short, you can add another row before you do that last row of single crochet, or you can do another row of single crochet. So that is what it looks like. When you push it down, it should be down to the bottom of your toilet paper. So our inside cover is finished, so we're going to set that aside. And now we're going to start making the outside of our pumpkin here that goes around the toilet paper. And this is what it looks like. We're just crocheting this rectangle, and then we'll be sewing it to that inside piece that we just made, and then stuff it, add our stem, and add our leaves. So let's get busy on the outside pumpkin piece. I'm back. I have my orange attached to my hook. Now I just use a double knot. You can use a slip knot, whichever method you prefer. We're going to start the outside pumpkin cover now. You're going to begin, and we're going to chain 30. Yarn over the hook, pull it through the loop on your hook, and this creates your first chain. The chain on your hook does not count as a chain. Yarn over, pull through, that's 2. Yarn over, pull through, that's 3. Continue until you have a chain with 30 chains, and I'll be back and we'll get row 1 started. I have my chain 30 done, and now we're getting ready to start row 1. For row 1, we're going to start by skipping the first 3 chain. 1, 2, and 3. You're going to yarn over, and we're going to work a double crochet into that 4th chain from hook. Insert into that chain, yarn over, pull through, yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, and pull through 2. You just made your double crochet. The skipped 3 chains that we skipped to start the row counts as our first double crochet. So now we're going to work 1 double crochet in each of the next 19 chains. Yarn over the hook, insert into that next chain, work a double crochet. That's 1 of the 19. Yarn over, insert into the next chain, work a double crochet. That's 2 of 19. Yarn over, insert into the next chain, work a double crochet. That's 3 of 19. Continue until you make 19 double crochet. You made 3, you need to make 16 more. So work 1 double crochet in each of the next 16 chains, and I'll meet you there. I'm back. This is what your work should look like, and you should have 7 chains remaining. You have that beginning chain 3 that counts as 1 double crochet. You double crocheted into the 4th chain from the hook, and then you work 19 additional double crochet. So you should have a total of 21 double crochet so far, counting that beginning chain 3. So now to finish the row, we're going to work 1/2 double crochet in each of the next 7 chains across. Yarn over the hook, insert into that next chain, yarn over, pull through. You have 3 loops on the hook, yarn over, and pull through all 3 loops on the hook. You just made a 1/2 double crochet. You're going to yarn over, insert into that next chain, work a 1/2 double crochet, and we're just going to work 1/2 double crochet in each chain across to the end. So you should have a total of 7 1/2 double crochet to finish this row. I'm going to go ahead and work it right to the end with you. We have 2 chains remaining, and you're working 1/2 double crochet in each chain across to the end. So when you look at your work, again, you will have your chain 3, which counts as 1 double crochet. You worked a double crochet into the 4th chain from hook. You worked 19 more double crochet across, which gives you a total of 21 double crochet. And then you work 7 half double crochet to finish the row. So row 1 is finished. Now we're going to start row 2. Now rows 2 and 3 will be your repeat rows, so this is where you would click back on the video if you need help to do the repeat rows. Again, this is the beginning of row 2. You're going to start and chain 1. Now this chain 1 does not count as a stitch. We're going to be working into the back loops only of each stitch across. We're going to start and we're going to work 1 half double crochet in each of the first 7 half double crochet stitches. Yarn over the hook, skip that beginning chain 1, insert into the back loop only, work a half double crochet. That's 1. Yarn over, insert into the back loop only of that next stitch, work a half double crochet. That's 2. Yarn over, insert into the back loop only of the next stitch, work a half double crochet. That's 3. Yarn over, insert into the back loop only, work a half double crochet. That's 4. Yarn over, insert into that next stitch in the back loop only, work a half double crochet. That's 5. Yarn over, insert into the back loop only of the next stitch, work a half double crochet. That's 6. Yarn over, insert into the back loop only, work a half double crochet, and that's 7. So now we're going to switch and we're going to be working our double crochet stitch. You're going to be working into the back loops only. You're going to yarn over, insert into the back loop only of the next stitch, and work a double crochet. Yarn over, insert into the back loop only, and work a double crochet. I'll show you one more time. Yarn over, insert into the back loop only of that next stitch, and work a double crochet. Continue working 1 double crochet into the back loop of each stitch across to the end of the row, and I'll meet you there. I'm over at the end of row 2 and I stop before I finish the row because if you're new you may not know what to do with that turning chain. We worked a double crochet into the last double crochet across, and then you have your turning chain, which counts as the first double crochet when you started row 1. You're going to turn your work so you can see the front loop and the back loop of that top of that turning chain. You're going to yarn over, insert into the back loop of that turning chain, and work a double crochet. And that is the end of row 2. Again, you chained 1, you worked 1 half double crochet in each of the first 7 stitches, and then you worked a double crochet in each remaining stitch across the row, and we worked into the back loops only, which creates this ridge that helps make our pumpkin have that nice ridged effect. So now we're going to start row 3. You're going to start and chain 3. 1, 2, and 3. You're going to turn your work. This beginning chain 3 counts as the first double crochet. We're going to work 1 double crochet in each of the next 20 double crochet stitches. You're going to be working into the back loops only of each of the next 20 stitches. Yarn over, you're going to follow that chain 3 down, you're going to skip this first stitch, you're going over into that second stitch, insert into the back loop of that stitch, and work a double crochet. That is 1 of 20. Yarn over the hook, insert into the back loop only of that next stitch, work a double crochet. That's 2 of 20. Yarn over the hook, insert into the back loop of that next stitch, work a double crochet. That's 3 of 20. So go ahead and repeat 1 double crochet into the back loop of each of the next 17 stitches until you have a total of 20 double crochet made, and I'll meet you there. I'm back. I made my 20 double crochet in the back loop of those stitches. You should have your beginning chain 3, which counts as the first double crochet, and then you should have worked 1 double crochet in each of the next 20 stitches. So with your chain 3, you'll have a total of 21 double crochet stitches across your row so far. So now we're going to finish the row and we're going to work 1/2 double crochet into the back loop of each remaining stitch. You should have a total of 7 stitches remaining. So yarn over, insert into the back loop of that next stitch, and work a 1/2 double crochet. That's 1. Yarn over, insert into the back loop of that next stitch, work a 1/2 double crochet. That's 2. Yarn over, insert into the back loop of the next stitch, work a 1/2 double crochet. That's 3. Yarn over, insert into the back loop of the next stitch, work a 1/2 double crochet. That's 4. Yarn over, insert into the back loop only of the next stitch, work a 1/2 double crochet. That's 5. We have 2 stitches remaining. Yarn over the hook, insert into the back loop of that next stitch, and work a 1/2 double crochet. We're over to our last stitch. If you're not sure where it is, just turn your work slightly and you can see the top 2 loops. You're going to yarn over, insert into that back loop only, and work a 1/2 double crochet. Row 3 is finished, and when you look at your work, you're going to notice that the one end is going to be narrower. We're working 1/2 double crochets, so this side is going to be shorter in width than the other side. So the bottom, as you continue, will get wider, and this will be just a little bit shorter in the width. And we need that because we don't want all that bulk when we try to gather the top of our pumpkin. We're trying to keep that, as less bulk as possible to get a nicer finished look to our pumpkin. So rows 2 and 3 are your repeat rows. So now what you're going to do is click back on the video and you're going to repeat rows 2 and 3 18 more times, or until you have a total of 39 rows. Now these are a little bit easier to count. You can see your rows really well if you count those double crochet rows. There's 1, 2, and 3. So go ahead and repeat rows 2 and 3 18 more times until you get to the end of row 39, and I'll meet you there. I'm back. I'm over at the end of row 39 here, and when you look at your work, you can see that there's a slight dip to it. Now this is our strip, but when we make our pumpkin, it'll be this way. So the top is going to be the shorter length here where it dips, and the bottom of the pumpkin will be the wider area down here. So we have one more row to go. We're going to repeat row 2. So let me zoom up and let's get this last row worked. We're going to start with the chain 1, and you're going to turn your work. You're going to skip the chain 1, yarn over, insert into the back loop of that very first stitch. Here's our chain 1, insert into the back loop, work a 1/2 double crochet. We're working 7 total across the beginning of the row. That's 1. Yarn over, insert into the back loop of that next stitch, work a 1/2 double crochet. That's 2. yarn over, insert into the back loop of the next stitch, work a half double crochet, that's 3, yarn over, insert into that back loop of that next stitch, work a half double crochet, that's 4, yarn over, insert into the back loop of that next stitch, work a half double crochet, that's 5, 2 to go, yarn over, insert into the back loop of that next stitch, work a half double crochet, that's 6, yarn over, insert into the back loop only of the next stitch and work a half double crochet, and that's 7. Now we're going to be working double crochets. We're going to work 1 double crochet into the back loop of each stitch across to the end of the row. So let's begin. Yarn over the hook, insert into the back loop of the next stitch, yarn over, pull through that stitch, yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over and pull through 2. We switch to working a double crochet. Yarn over, insert into the back loop of that next stitch and work a double crochet. Yarn over, insert into the back loop of that next stitch and work a double crochet. Continue and work 1 double crochet into the back loop of each stitch across to the end of the row, and I'll meet you at the end of row 40. I'm over at the end of row 40. So now you do not want to turn and you do not want to fasten off your work. What we're going to do is we're going to take our work. This is where you fastened off. You're just going to take your work and you're just going to fold it in half, like so. You're going to bring the end of row 40 up to meet the foundation row of row 1 where we started, right up against that foundation row. You're just folding it in half. You're going to take your work and you're just going to bring it up, and now we're going to slip stitch. You might have to maneuver that yarn behind your work. We're going to slip stitch. We're going to insert our hook into the top of that beginning chain 3 here. Just go up to the top of that beginning chain 3 and then come over to the very first stitch that you have your loop in. You're going to slip stitch. Now I'm going into the back loop. Yarn over, pull through, and pull through the loop on your hook. You're going to find your next chain. You can see your chains are right here. So you're just going into the edge of those chains. Insert into the edge of that next chain. Match it up to the stitch on the other side. Into the back loop. Yarn over, pull through, and pull through the loop on your hook. Find your next chain. Insert into that chain. Match it up to the stitch on the other side. Insert into the back loop. Yarn over and pull through all loops. We're just slip stitching this together to form a tube. Insert into the next chain, match it up to the stitch on the other side, insert into the back loop, yarn over and pull through all loops. Find your next chain, insert into that chain, match it up to the stitch behind, go into the back loop, yarn over and pull through all loops. If you need help, just click back on the video. You're going to find the next chain, insert into that chain, match it up to the stitch on the other side, insert into the back loop of that stitch, yarn over and pull through all loops. Continue working in that manner until you get clear down to the bottom, and I'll meet you there. I'm back. We just slip stitched our 2 ends together to form a tube. So now I'm going to fasten off, but we want to leave a long sewing length. So make sure you leave a pretty long length. I'd leave at least 36 inches because we're going to use this to weave around the top of our pumpkin. So let me get that end out of the way. I chain 2. Now you can fasten off in whichever method you prefer. I pull my hook up and I pull that length of yarn out, grab my yarn, pinch, pull down, and it creates a secure knot. Now this is what our pumpkin should look like. It looks like a tube now. So when you look at your pumpkin, the half double crochets are at the top where it's smaller around the opening, and then you have the base of the pumpkin down where the wide opening is. So you're going to leave this long sewing length, and we're just going to let that go. And now what we want to do is take your orange yarn and pull off about a 36-inch length, just a nice long length. We're going to thread that single strand of yarn into our yarn needle, and we're getting ready to attach our pumpkin onto our inner cover. But first we're going to come down, and here is where we slip stitched across, so we're going right down to the base. Now you already fastened off and you have this long length for the top. We need to fasten at the bottom, so I go right where the joining seam is, and I'm just going to attach my yarn. Now I'm going to tie a knot, and I kind of leave a nice long length, probably about 8 to 10 inches, because that way I have a lot that I can use my yarn needle to weave that back in. So it's better to have a nicer, longer length. So now what we're going to do is we're going to take our piece, and you're going to weave in and out right on this edge, right on the very edge. Now you don't have to match stitches. All we're going to do is go in and out. Don't make it too wide in between the stitches. Just go in and out maybe every other stitch until you get all the way around your piece. And then we're going to pull this and gather it so it matches the inside cover. So I'll get into that after I'm done weaving in my end. So you're going right in the very tip, and then you're going back through the edge, and you're just weaving in and out of those stitches until you get back to where you started. So go ahead and weave in and out of those stitches right on the very tippy edge, and do that all the way around the base of the pumpkin until you get to where you started. I'm going to continue weaving in, and I'll meet you when I get back to the beginning. I'm back. I weave my yarn around the base of this pumpkin. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my inside cover, and if you look, you can see here is our joining seam. So I'm going to match this joining seam with my back joining seam. You're going to take your pumpkin and you're going to stick it right over top the inside cover, like so. And then you're going to take your thread that you weaved in, and you're just going to pull, and you're going to maneuver your pumpkin and keep pulling and getting this in place so it's snug against the bottom of your toilet paper cover. Now I pulled that a little too tight, so you may want to turn it this way when you're doing your work. And if you need to, you can pin this to keep it. I'm just going to grab another crochet hook and just kind of like poke this through just to hold this in place. That will help me there. Just pull it up and pull this string until everything lines up and it's gathered nicely. Now if you have too much gather in one spot, then try to move your gathers. Use your finger and move it so it has a nice look all the way around. So I'm going to pull it one more time, make it nice and snug. And then what you're going to do is once that's nice and snug, what I do is now you're not going to be able to match the stitches on the outside. So I butt them up against each other, and I leave the toilet paper in here just to make sure it doesn't get too big or too tight. I take my yarn needle, I'm going right down through the edge of this outside cover, and I'm going right through the stitch on the bottom. So let me see if I can get up a little bit closer. And you're going through both thicknesses, and I'm just going to whip stitch this across. Now when I sewed this together, I went in every stitch around the inside cover, but you cannot match it on the outside. You can just do the best you can with what you think lines up with that next stitch. Here's the next stitch. I lined it up the best I could with what was on the outside cover, and you're just going to sew that into place. Find your next stitch, which is here. Take your top cover, match it up the best you can, butt them together, and you're just going to go through that top cover and then through the very next stitch. And you're just going to continue in that manner. Here's your next stitch. Take it through the part of the outside cover that aligns with that stitch and go through that stitch, and just keep doing that. Here's your next stitch. Insert right on the other side through the top cover and right through that next stitch. And again, I'm sewing in every stitch on the inside cover. Match it up, find that next stitch, here it is. Match it up right above it through the outer cover, and then bring your needle down through the inside cover and just continue putting your pumpkin together. And just continue sewing your pumpkin together in that manner. You're going right in the outer edge, match it up to the next stitch. I'll do it one more time. And you just work your way around your pumpkin. Here's your next stitch. Just that outer cover, just lay it right on top. Insert your hook through the outer cover and then through the inside cover's next stitch. I'm going to continue sewing my cover together in this manner, and when I get to the end, I'll be back and I'll show you the next step. I'm back. I sewed all the way around the base of my pumpkin through both thicknesses, and now here is the yarn I used to sew. Here is that piece where we fastened off. I'm just going to tie a double knot and secure these ends. And then what you do is just pull that toilet paper out of your holder, and you can see how nice that is. That now we're going to go ahead and stuff in here, but first we're going to go ahead and weave in our ends. This is what it looks like. It's two separate pieces. We'll be stuffing the inside here, but first we need to weave in our ends. So grab that. I'm just going to clip some of this yarn off so I don't have so much in my way. And you're just going to put it to the back side of your work. Bring that yarn in. You're going right on the inside of your work, on the wrong side. Weave those ends in through some bases of those stitches. Then skip one strand of yarn and come back in the opposite direction. And if you want to go a third time, you can, to make it nice and secure. So weave in your ends. I'll be back and we'll continue working on our pumpkin. I weaved in my ends. This is what our project looks like so far. Your top pumpkin outside cover is sewn to the inside cover now, and when you turn it up, this is what it looks like. You have that inside cover and then you have the outside cover. So we're going to be stuffing inside around the edge to pump that pumpkin out and give it a little more pumpkin look. Now if you wanted to put a face on your pumpkin, now I chose not to because I thought if I didn't put a face on it I could use it for Halloween and Thanksgiving, but if you wanted to put a whimsical face and you wanted to use safety eyes, then this would be the time that you would put your safety eyes in here where you want to put your face. If you're going to embroider your face, then you can wait until you get your pumpkin completely stuffed. But if you wanted to put a face on it, you could, and now is the time where you would put those safety eyes in if you're using safety eyes. So let's push this pumpkin back. So now what we're going to do is we're going to grab our toilet paper again, and we're going to place our cover over top the toilet paper. And this helps to make sure that it's stuffed correctly, because if you don't have the toilet paper in there, it could be distorted. So let's take our stuffing. And what we're going to do is we're going to be placing stuffing between this inside cover and the outside. So you're just going to be placing it around our pumpkin, inside between the edges, around the entire pumpkin. Now it's up to you. Now I lightly stuffed mine. I didn't want it real big because I wanted it to still have a nice look and it to be able to sit on the top of a toilet tank. And I wanted it to just have a nice little bit of curve, and I didn't want to get it too stuffed because I didn't want it so big that it wouldn't set on top of the toilet tank if that's where you choose to set it. So just lightly stuff it around and just use your hands and kind of like pat it, turn it, see what it looks like, and then just hold your top in and see if that's how you like it. If you don't think it's stuffed enough, then just grab a little more stuffing and just put a little more stuffing in around the sides to where you think it has a nicer look. So I'm just going to place a little more stuffing in here. And then once you get the sides stuffed to where you think it looks nice, then we're going to place a little bit of stuffing right here on the top. Now, we need to put stuffing on the top, but before we do that, it's best to take this leftover piece of yarn that we fastened off, and we're going to do the same thing we did to the bottom. You're going to weave that yarn end onto your yarn needle, and we're going to go ahead and we're going to weave in and out through the top edges of our pumpkin. And this way it's easier to do it now before we stuff the top of the pumpkin. You're just going in and out of those stitches right on the very edge, and you're going to do that all the way around the top of the pumpkin, and you're going to come back to where you started. So just keep on weaving in and out around the top of your pumpkin. I'll meet you when I get back to the beginning where I started. I'm back. I weaved this yarn in the edge around the top of my pumpkin, and then I'm just going to pull it, and you can see how it's starting to pull the pumpkin together. So it's best to take your fingers and kind of just pull and tug back and forth so it evenly closes. So I'm just going to close it up a little bit more, and then I'm going to start putting some stuffing into the top of my pumpkin. So you just want to put the stuffing in there so it has a nice look to the top, nice curved round top. And when you get enough stuffing in, just check your pumpkin. Again, pat it, just keep playing with it until you get that shape that you like. Now remember, not all pumpkins are perfectly shaped. And then you're just going to keep pulling on that string. And be careful you don't pull so tight that you break your string, and then you'll have to re-thread a new piece of yarn if you do. And you can see it's getting smaller and smaller. And I just play with it as I close. Just keep tugging. If you have too much stuffing, you can just reach in there and pull some out. So just keep tugging and pulling. Now you're not going to get it completely closed. I think about a fingertip. Your little finger will still be able to fit down in there. There'll still be a small hole. Now you can try to pull it tight, but that's as tight as it will go. And now the one little piece, I'm just going to tie a knot. Now if you don't have that small piece of yarn there, then you can just use your yarn needle and knot that and secure that end. Now since our pumpkin is all sewed together, I'm just going to take my yarn needle and I'm just going to weave it in and out through the top of my pumpkin. And you can just clip this anywhere I'm just going to go around the top a couple more times and then back. And then I'm just going to clip that end and repeat for the other end. So now all we have to do is make our stem and make our little curly Q leaves, and our pumpkin will be finished. So grab your brown, grab your hook, and I'll be right back and we'll get our stem started. We're ready to begin our stem for our pumpkin. So I'm using the gentle brown, and we're going to start with the chain 2. Now I already have my yarn attached to my hook. I use a double knot. You can use whichever method you prefer. We're going to start with a chain 2. Yarn over, pull through, that's 1. Yarn over and pull through, and that's 2. We're going to begin round 1, and we're going to work 10 half double crochet into the second chain from hook. You're going to yarn over, you're going to skip that first chain, insert into the second chain from the hook, and work a half double crochet. Yarn over, pull through that chain. You have 3 loops on your hook, yarn over and pull through all 3 loops on the hook. That is your first of 10. You're going to yarn over, insert back into that same chain, yarn over, pull through. You have 3 loops, yarn over and pull through all 3 loops on the hook. You just made a half double crochet, and that's 2 of the 10. Now we're going to work 8 more into the same chain here, and that will stretch as you work the rest of your stitches. Yarn over, insert back into that same chain, work your third half double crochet. That's 3. Yarn over, insert back into that same chain, work a half double crochet, and that's 4. Continue and work 6 more half double crochet all into that same chain, and I'll meet you at the end of round 1. I'm over at the end of round 1. You should have a total of 10 half double crochet around, and when you look at your work, your first half double crochet will kind of be like up and down, and these are going around. This just dips down because it was the first stitch. We're going to join, but we're joining in the back loop only of that first half double crochet. Insert your hook into the back loop only of that first half double crochet and slip stitch. Yarn over, pull through that back loop and pull through the loop on your hook. Round 1 is finished. Now we're getting ready to start round 2. We're going to begin with the chain 1. Now this chain 1 will not count as a stitch. We're going to work in the back loops only of each stitch around, and we're going to work a single crochet into the back loop of each stitch. To begin round 2, you're going to insert your hook into that same back loop where you joined and work a single crochet. Yarn over, pull through that back loop. You have 2 loops on your hook, yarn over and pull through 2 loops. Insert into the back loop of the next stitch, yarn over, pull through that back loop and pull through 2 loops on your hook. You just made a single crochet, and we're working into the back loop only. Insert into the back loop of the next stitch, work a single crochet. Insert into the back loop of the next stitch, work a single crochet. Continue and work 1 single crochet into the back loop of each remaining stitch around, and I'll meet you at the end of round 2. I'm over at the end of round 2. You should have a total of 10 single crochet around. And again, if you're new to crocheting, this last joining bar looks like a stitch, but this is not a stitch. This is where a lot of new crocheters get confused. I worked my last single crochet into that last half double crochet, and when you join with the slip stitch, you create a joining bar. We're going to skip that joining bar. You're going to insert your hook under the top 2 loops of that first single crochet and slip stitch. Yarn over, pull through that stitch and pull through the loop on your hook. Round 2 is finished. So now what's going to happen is you worked into the back loops, so this will start going down, forming the sides of your stem. So if your work is bowed like that, just go ahead and push it down, and you can see how it creates the top of the stem, and now you're going to be working down the side. For round 3, we're going to be going in both of the top loops of each stitch around. You're going to start with the chain 1, and the chain 1 does not count as a stitch. We're going to work 1 single crochet in each stitch around. Insert underneath the top 2 strands of that first single crochet and work a single crochet. Insert under the top 2 loops of the next stitch, work a single crochet. Insert under the top 2 loops of the next stitch, work a single crochet. Continue and work 1 single crochet in each stitch around, making sure you're going under both of those top loops of the stitch. Now when you work your stitches, because we are only working 1 stitch, it's going to start pulling to the right, so make sure you're not putting 2 stitches in the same stitch. Make sure you look, you worked in that stitch, you're coming clear over here to the next stitch, insert under the top 2 strands, work a single crochet. Continue working 1 single crochet in each stitch around, and I'll meet you at the end of round 3. I'm over at the end of round 3. This is what your work should look like. You should have a total of 10 single crochet around your work. When you get to the end, we're going to join with a slip stitch. You're going to skip that joining bar. You're going to skip that beginning chain 1. You're going to insert under the top 2 loops of that first single crochet stitch. Make sure you pull that yarn tight, yarn over, pull through that stitch, and pull through the loop on your hook. Round 3 is finished. So now what you're going to do for rounds 4 through 10 is you're just going to repeat round 3 7 more times. So if you need help, click back on the video. You're going to start with the chain 1. The chain 1 does not count as a stitch, and you're going to work 1 single crochet in each of the 10 single crochet around, and you're going to do that for 7 more rounds. So go ahead and repeat round 3 7 more times, and I'll meet you at the end of round 10. I'm over at the end of round 10. This is what your stem should look like, and now we're getting ready to join. You're going to skip that joining bar, you're going to skip that chain 1, insert under the top 2 loops of that first stitch, yarn over, pull through that stitch, and pull through the loop on your hook. Now we're going to leave a long length and fasten off, because you need to have enough yarn to sew this around the top of your pumpkin. And remember, it's better to have too much yarn than not enough. Now I chain 2, 1, 2, pull up on my hook, pull the yarn out, grab the yarn, pinch, pull down, and it creates a secure knot. Now you can fasten off in whichever method you prefer. So now we're just going to take a little bit of fiber fill, and we're just going to stuff inside our stem. Just put a little bit in there so it stays up nice and straight. And you can stuff it real fat. You can just stuff it so it's just nice and secure, or really cram it in there and make it nice and plump. Now I just stuff it so it's just nice and firm. So then what you're going to do is grab your yarn needle. You're going to thread the end of that piece that you fastened off into your yarn needle. You're going to grab your pumpkin, and you're going to see that hole on top. You're just going to take your stem and you're going to place it right over top of that hole. That way you're not going to see the hole. You're going to take your yarn needle. You're just going to stick it down inside of the stitch of the pumpkin on top, and then bring it back up through the edge of the stem. And you're just going to continue and make sure that you're always holding it over the hole Don't get over here because you do not want part of that opening showing. You want to make sure you keep your finger on top of that stem and always make sure that it's covering that hole as you're sewing around the pumpkin. Insert into the top of the pumpkin right about the base of where your stem's going to be. Bring it up through the center of that pumpkin and then in through that next stitch. Pull tight and snug. Turn your pumpkin, insert it into the top of the pumpkin, and then bring it up through the center of the pumpkin and then in through the next stitch. And you're going to continue sewing your pumpkin together in that manner. So again, make sure that you're watching and you're keeping that stem over top of that opening so none of the opening shows. I'm going to finish sewing my stem on and I'll be back and we'll start the leaves. I'm back. I have my stem sewed to the top of my pumpkin, and if you look, you cannot see any part of the opening. So just make sure that that is covered. Now when I get done sewing, I just take my yarn needle and I'll bring it right up to where my thread comes out. I stick my yarn needle underneath like 2 strands of yarn, pull it out until it makes a loop. Before you pull it all the way through, I form a loop. I hope you can see this. There we go. I form a loop and then I take my yarn needle up through that loop and pull tight, create a knot, and then I weave it in through my stitches. Just weave it in and out around the stitches. Pull that through and then just go back in the other direction. Pull through and then just clip your end. So all we have left to do is our little curly Q leaves and our pumpkin will be finished. So grab your green, grab your hook, and I'll be back and we'll get our curly Q leaves started. To begin your leaves, you want to have your green on your hook, so go ahead and attach your yarn. Now I am using early spring. I tied a double knot. Now you can join your yarn in whichever way you prefer. We're going to start with the chain 12. Yarn over the hook, pull it through the loop on your hook. This creates your first chain, and the loop on your hook does not count as a chain. Yarn over, pull through, that's 2. Yarn over, pull through, that's 3. Continue until you have a total of 12 chains. I'll be back and we'll start row 1. I have my chain 12 completed, and now we're getting ready to start row 1. For row 1, we're going to work 4 double crochet into the 4th chain from hook. We're going to yarn over. You're going to skip 1, 2, 3 chain, insert into that 4th chain, and work a double crochet. Yarn over, pull through that chain, yarn over, pull through 2 loops, yarn over, and pull through 2 loops. You just made your first double crochet of the 4. This beginning chain 3 counts as the first double crochet. Yarn over the hook, insert back into that same chain, work a second double crochet. Yarn over, insert into that same chain, work a third double crochet. Yarn over, insert back into that same chain, and work your 4th double crochet. So when you look at your work, you'll have your beginning chain 3, which counts as the first double crochet, and then you worked 4 more double crochet all into that 4th chain from hook, for a total of 5 double crochet stitches. So now for the rest of this row, we're going to continue and work 5 double crochet in each chain across, which creates the curly Q effect. You're going to yarn over, insert into that next chain, and work 5 double crochet. There's 1, yarn over, insert into that same chain, work your second double crochet, yarn over, insert into that same chain, work your third double crochet, yarn over, insert back into that same chain, work your 4th double crochet, Yarn over, insert back into that same chain, and work your 5th double crochet. I'll show you one more time. Now this time I'm just going to do my stitches and count as I go. You're going to work 5 double crochet into this next chain. 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. And you can see when you're looking at your work, it already wants to start curling and forming that curly Q. So now continue and work 5 double crochet in each chain across, and I'll meet you at the end of row 1. I'm over at the end of the row. I worked 5 double crochet in each chain across, and you can see I worked 5 double crochet into that last chain. So now you want to fasten off, leaving a sewing length, and again it's better to leave too much than not enough. I chain 2, 1, 2, pull up, pull that yarn out, pinch it down, and it creates a secure knot. So this is what it looks like. So you can just start at the end and you can just roll it, and it forms that curly Q leaf. And when you get to the end, you'll have that small piece of yarn where you started your chain. We're just going to weave that short end into our yarn needle, and then we're going to weave those ends in just through the back of the stitches on the wrong side. Just take your yarn needle and just weave that in through the back of those stitches. And then you can come the other way if your yarn is long enough. That's why I say sometimes it's better to have a longer length than too short, because it makes it a little bit harder to weave in those ends. Just like that, my yarn came out. I'm just going to clip it because it's only a leaf, so I'm just going to clip it there. And then what you're going to do is take your long sewing length, thread it through your yarn needle. So now you're going to grab your pumpkin, you're going to take your leaf, and you're just going to hold it up against your pumpkin. Now you can figure out how you want it to lay. If you want it to lay where it's hanging down your pumpkin, if you want to lay it this way so it's up and then just pull it down, it's all up to you. Now I prefer, now mine's going to be on the wrong side, but I like it to where it's coming down the pumpkin. I'm just going to hold it there with my fingers, and I'm just going to sew it right across the pumpkin, right at the base of the stem. So just go in through the pumpkin and out through the edge of the stitch, and you're just going to sew that right to the top of your pumpkin. I'm just going across my stitches. I hope you can see this. It's a little awkward to try to do it. I'm going to bend my stem down. I'm going to go on the other side. And as long as you have probably 3 or 4 stitches secured, then that should hold your stem in place. So that's 3. I'm going to go one more stitch and make that 4. So I go through 4 stitches to really make it nice and secure. And then what I do is I come back, I go through one more time, and I make that loop with my yarn. I take my yarn needle right through that loop before I pull it closed. And then I pull down, and then I'm just going to weave my yarn needle in and out through those stitches. And then I'm going to come back through. And then I'm going to clip off. So now what you want to do is click back on the video. You're going to make one more curly Q leaf, and you're going to attach it right to the next one right on top. So let me grab my other pumpkin. So go ahead and make your second curly Q leaf, I put mine right on top of the other one, and then I sew it right in place so it kind of forms a V. So I'm going to make my second curly Q. I'm going to sew it on my pumpkin, and then I'll be back and show you the finished pumpkin. Our pumpkin is finished. I have my leaf sewed on the top. It's already on the toilet paper, and you can use it to decorate for the Halloween Thanksgiving season in any way you like. Now the link to this pattern is in the description box underneath the video. This is pattern 615, the pumpkin toilet paper cover. So thank you everybody for stopping by and crocheting with me today. And until next time, happy crocheting!